What are IFR holding patterns? Under instrument meteorological conditions, traffic separation must be maintained by air traffic control, as a pilot's ability to see and avoid is no longer feasible. Therefore, a plane often needs to wait or hold in some localized area for separation purposes. Unfortunately, airplanes must continually move forward in order to generate lift. They can't simply remain in one spot. So to account for this aerodynamic limitation, planes flying under IFR will often travel in an oval-shaped circuit until it is safe for them to continue en route. Holds can either be published for regular usage or they may be assigned as needed by ATC. An example of published IFR holds for traffic separation are those on standard terminal arrival routes, or STARS for short. Holds may also be published on approach charts to be used in lieu of a procedure turn to align an airplane with the approach course. A holding pattern consists of the following parts. A fix. This defines the area where the plane is expected to remain. A plane can't simply fly in circles and expect to stay in the same place. Wind conditions and pilot error would naturally lead to a gradual drift from where they started. An identifiable fix gives the pilot a way to ensure that the plane remains in the area where it is intended to hold. This fix may be identifiable in several different ways. Some fixes are simply the location of a navigational aid, such as an NDB, VOR, or VORTAC. Some may be identified as an intersecting of radials from more than one VOR or VORTAC. Others may be GPS waypoints, and can only be identified with RNAV. The important point is that it can be identified by navigational aids in the absence of visual references. An inbound leg. This is the course that the plane tracks to return periodically to the defined fix. It will be identified by the radial from or bearing to the holding fix. An outbound leg. Naturally, after flying inbound to the fix, the plane must fly over it and subsequently outbound. The outbound leg will bring the plane back to the beginning of the inbound leg, and therefore, the outbound heading is the reciprocal of the inbound course under ideal conditions. And of course, two turns. The plane will turn to the outbound heading after passing the fix, and then turn inbound to the fix again to complete the circuit, thus returning periodically to the holding fix. For a standard hold, these turns are to the right. Non-standard holds will be identified by instructions to make left turns. These are 180-degree standard rate turns, taking 1 minute each. Finally, there is a protected side and unprotected side of the hold. The plane is to stay on one side of the fix continually. This is particularly important because many holds are designed to keep you away from some sort of hazard, such as terrain on the other side of the fix. Hence the term protected. To stay on the protected side of the hold, there are 3 methods for entering a hold: direct, teardrop, and parallel. To fly a direct entry, simply turn to the outbound heading after passing the holding fix and start your outbound leg. To fly a teardrop entry, turn 30 degrees off from the reciprocal of your inbound course for 1 minute. Then perform a standard rate turn and start your inbound leg. In this case, the inbound course is 90 degrees, so the reciprocal would be 270 degrees. to fly 30 degrees off would put you on a 240-degree heading. To fly a parallel entry, fly the reciprocal of your outbound course for 1 minute after passing the fix. Then fly a standard rate turn in the opposite direction of the hold. In a standard hold, a parallel entry will require a left turn. Then intercept your inbound course prior to the fix. After passing the fix, you will be established in a position to turn to your outbound heading. In ideal conditions with no wind, each leg of the hold will be 1 minute. 1.5 minutes above 14,000 feet. For the sake of simplicity, we will assume you are flying below 14,000 feet, making each circuit of the hold a total of 4 minutes. That is 2 1-minute legs plus 2 1-minute standard rate turns. If the wind is parallel with the hold, flying for 1 minute will cause the plane to travel farther in one direction than the other. If there is a tailwind on the outbound leg, it will take longer to fly inbound, as you will fly a greater distance outbound. Conversely, if there is a headwind on the outbound leg, you will travel a shorter distance if the outbound leg is flown for only 1 minute. In this example, you have a tailwind outbound and a headwind inbound. This will increase the time it takes to fly your inbound leg while making the outbound leg faster. To correct for this, it is the inbound leg that should be flown for 1 minute. The outbound leg needs to be adjusted to compensate. Time yourself on the inbound leg. Then, if that time is under 1 minute, add that difference to the outbound leg. If it is over 1 minute, you are to subtract that difference from the outbound leg. That's simple enough, but what do you do if a crosswind is blowing perpendicular to the legs of the hold? You may have noticed that I defined the outbound leg as flying a heading, while flying the inbound leg with a course earlier. That wasn't an accident, but a deliberate word choice. When flying a standard rate turn, a wind component traveling perpendicular to the hold will naturally make that turn wider or narrower. As there are 2 standard rate turns, the turn on one side of the hold will be wide, and the turn on the other side will be narrow. The goal is to align yourself with the inbound course after turning from the outbound heading. To avoid overshooting or undershooting the inbound course, you will need to determine the inbound wind correction angle, multiply that angle by 3, and fly against the wind by that many degrees on your outbound heading. For example, if maintaining an inbound course requires a heading of 10 degrees into the wind relative to the course, the outbound heading will require the reciprocal of the inbound course to be corrected by 30 degrees into the wind. Now that you know how holds work, check out this video on the 5 T's, which is the acronym to explain the proper steps to follow when entering a hold.